What up, everybody? Welcome. We're entering week 7 this week. A lot of low-scoring games this week. I think I heard a statistic or not really a statistic, but just a fact that only 2 or 3 teams scored over 26 points this week, which is crazy. A lot of low scoring, a lot of upsets, a lot of almost upsets. And I think the theme of this week for our league was a lot of questionable starts. We'll start off with Eric. What are you doing starting Justin Fields over Jalen Hurts? I know Jalen Hurts and their offense has not looked as good as it did last year, but it's still a high-powered offense where Jalen Hurts is getting the tush push usually once a week. I mean, it didn't happen this week because I think it was just a weird week, but it's usually happening once a week where they're getting the tush push. He's getting that everlasting. You want those rushing touchdowns with the quarterbacks because that's 6 points versus 4 points. So I don't know what you were doing there. I really don't. Why would you start Justin Fields? Luckily, it worked out for you in the fact that you still won, but you could have been highest scoring. Scoring is going to be really important, especially as teams get a little bit tighter in records. There's a lot of 4 and 2s and a lot of 3 and 3s. So you're going to want those extra points. So that way you're ranked above someone. I think last year, I made playoffs and I had the same record as someone that didn't make the playoffs because I had more points. So points are huge. And that's where I'm struggling a little bit. I've had such a bad start to the year that I need to have a better record than everybody else. So, another person. I was surprised. I mean, he didn't have that many yards, but Jonathan Taylor was told that he was getting more work this week in the running game, and so I was surprised Eddie didn't start him, and so that was surprising to me. That was kind of a head scratcher. Who else? We had Dre. Dre started Jerick McKinnon on Thursday Night Football. What are you doing? What are you doing, Dre? Oh, my goodness. Why would you start Jerick McKinnon over Saquon Barkley? Yes, I know Saquon Barkley's status was up in the air, but it's not like this was a Sunday night decision. This was a Thursday night where you have the full week left to decide if you want to play a better running back in a crowded backfield with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Pacheco, and McKinnon, and you decided to play McKinnon on an offense that traditionally RBs don't get that many points. And yes, he had a big run last year, but why? Why? Luckily, also for you, it worked out. You got the dub. His team did not show up. A lot of injuries this week, for sure. A lot of injuries. CMC dealing with an oblique injury. So waiver wire is going to be interesting on some San Francisco running backs. We'll see if they get picked up. We had Josh Allen, another hit to poor Luke's team. Luke's team got hit with a Josh Allen injury. He's considered day-to-day last time I looked, so that'll be interesting. Luke's definitely going to be possibly needing a backup quarterback at some point, and it's slim pickings. I know Jordan Love is out there, so it'll be interesting if he picks him up there. Who else got injured? There was a lot of injuries, and now that I'm in front of the camera and talking to you guys, I can't remember them all. But let's see here. Justin Fields. I guess that'll make your decision a little bit easier moving forward, Eric. Justin Fields got injured, and he looks like he's going to be definitely missing some time. Let's see, who else? Jimmy Garoppolo pretty much died on the field, so that's kind of a hit to the Davante Adams, which, again, interesting dynamic here. Again, I feel like the beginning of that trade, I was like, shit, Davante Adams, that side wins all day long. But it does not look or does not appear to be that way now, especially with A-Chain out for 4 weeks. Mostert is going to eat. So, you know what? Cap off to you, Jeff. Good trade. That was a pretty sneaky trade. If you look at it, that's another week where I think Dre could have definitely. I mean, it is different because they're two different. They're two different positions, but very interesting that Dre could have. The point differential between Devonte Adams and Mostert was enough for, I'm sorry, Mr. Organic to win another week. Mr. Organic could be 5-1, but after that trade, he's now on a 2-week losing streak. You did get Austin Eckler back. Unfortunately, he didn't perform as well as you wanted, but I think if you move some stuff around, you could have had 2 wins in a row there where you would be 5-1. Now, it'll be interesting because it's only been 2 weeks and A-Chain is coming back. So we'll see how that goes. But so far, Jeff's side of that trade is definitely winning. So interesting dynamic going on, but we'll see. It's still a lot of game left to play. Let's see. Let's look at matchups. I got a win, so I was pretty happy about that. Eddie's team didn't really show up, so I'm not too proud of my 91 point win, but I'll take it. 2-4, still a lot of. I'm in ninth, nothing to celebrate about. I think what's interesting is now we've got Uncle Mo on momentum for some of you degenerates that don't know what Uncle Mo means. Austin, you're on a 4-game winning streak after I shit on your team for 2 to 3 weeks straight. So good job to you. I think right now you've got the hottest team. I'm doing power rankings today. That doesn't mean that you're my number 1 team, but you definitely, I would say, have the hottest team. 3rd in scoring this week. And I believe the last 2 or 3 weeks, you've been top 2, even maybe the top scoring. So, and your points, I think you're 2nd in points. So good job to Austin. Your team's coming alive. Definitely some holes that need to be filled. And also we've got bye weeks, Bye-pocalypse coming up. I know I'm going against Whitney, who's very scarce on wide receiver. I think she's got 1 out of 5 wide receivers, not on the bye. We've got poor Sloppy Poppy with injuries and with bye week. You've got a lot of people out. You're desperate for a running back, hence the shitty trade you sent me today. I don't know why I would go for Cole Kmet, but I mean, worst thing I can do is say no, so I can't blame you too much. But that'll be interesting. I'm definitely imagine you're going after the waiver wire on some running backs. And with that, my tip of the week, just kind of came up with this on the fly. My tip of the week, check out those waiver wire drops. And there's a lot of people on buys, so there's going to be a lot of transactions, I feel like. And with that, there's going to be some people that are going to be dropped that don't want to be dropped, that have good potential. So I always double check. I'm an hour ahead of everybody, and I wake up early, so I know I'm usually looking at the waiver wire. And even if you drop someone, it does have to go through another waiver wire. But I also look at to see who did not get picked up, and so I don't want to. For me personally, I don't want to spend my waiver wire on someone this week. I might change my mind on that, but it's something to look for when you're going to that waiver wire and you're looking at your team's needs. But definitely some people that are wide receiver or RB needy. Also, my opinion, I think there are some people that need a different quarterback, and quarterbacks have been interesting this year. Not a lot of, and it's been kind of an interesting year overall for offenses. Not a lot of scoring. Like last year, you had Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, and Jalen Hurts. Those 3 were just on a tier of their own in terms of quarterback play and quarterback points. But this year has been definitely not that. It's been pretty even across the field. I think Patrick Mahomes is 4 on the year. We've got Jared Goff on the top 5. Speaking of, congratulations, Dre. I think you have the only quarterback that scored over 20 points this week. Crazy week. This was a crazy week. But I'm going to dive into some power rankings. Before I do that, I want to go over some teams that I think have been underperforming, overperforming, and I've got the unluckiest team so far in terms of matchups. So like this week, I went against. I got the dub this week because I went against Eddie, who scored 65. But I'm gonna say like unlucky in terms of like let's say Eric scored the second most. Say he went up against Nate. He had a really good week compared to everybody, but he was unlucky. Let's say if he was going against Nate, that would be really unlucky because he did score number 2 overall. He got the loss on the week. So, and I think moving forward, I think once we hit the midway this next week, I'm going to do an overall record. So, how many points you scored, and on a weekly basis, like how your record compares to overall. And so that way we get a little bit better idea of how everyone's doing and not just going off of a record, because sometimes that can be misleading. But in terms of unlucky, I'm going to go over who I think has been the unluckiest and who's been going against some of the biggest matchups in terms of people, their opponent scoring the most points against them. And all right, let's dive into it. So underperforming, I'm going to share my screen here. Now this is a overall score of who's got who. So sorry, damn dog. So like Josh Allen, Luke has Josh Allen, and then this is their rankings. So for quarterbacks, I think who's underperformed, they're 3-3. I'm going to say Dre. Dre has the most underperforming team. Look at him. He has a top 5 QB here. He's got, if we go over to wide receiver, he's got 2 of the top 10 wide receivers on his team. And then, running back, he's got another top 5 running back. This guy has, in terms of productivity so far this year, I think Dre has one of the better teams, but they've just been underperforming. And I think it's been a combination. Combination of A-Chain. If you look at A-Chain, he missed a few games. He had a few really big games. He had 3 big games, but he missed weeks 1, 2, and this last week. And that's crazy. This guy has only really played in half of the games in terms of productivity, and yet he's number 5 overall on our season ranking. So that's crazy. But I think there's been some inconsistencies. His team hasn't been very consistent. He did pick up Jared Goff, got rid of Justin Fields, which I thought was a little questionable, but might end up being a pretty good move in terms of trying to stay more consistent. Adam Thielen has been carrying a lot of teams. I know Dre has him. He has AJ Brown. He's been a little unlucky with Aaron Jones and Saquon Barkley and their injuries. But once those guys are healthy, once all of them, if they can all stay healthy, this is a team to watch out for, making a run for the playoffs and making a run possibly for that championship. So my underperformer is Dre. My overperformer is, I'm sorry, Whitney, but it's you. I think your team is, you've been a little bit lucky in some matchups. You have the lowest scoring team, and that's saying something with and that's including my team. So that's saying something. Let's go. Where are you? Oh, your fucking weird names. Keep changing your names and messing me up. Trevor Lawrence, underperforming. DeAndre Hopkins, especially without Tannehill moving forward, that might be scary. CeeDee Lamb, underperforming. Pacheco, he's a decent running back, but he's nothing special. You've been with the Carolina running backs. They've been underperforming. Marquise Brown has been he's been decent considering his them having a backup quarterback, but still he hasn't been performing like possibly in a wide receiver, even 2, I would say. He's been a solid wide receiver 3. And then Travis Kelce, I don't think he's done decent, and he's been consistent at tight end, an inconsistent position, but he hasn't been that like league changer, roster changer that you kind of want when you're drafting him. So Whitney, I got him. I got you as overperformer. We'll see. We'll see if Gibbs can get a little bit more workload with Montgomery out. It didn't happen too much last time, but we'll see. And Deshaun Watson, if he comes back, maybe he's got weapons. Maybe he can turn it around. But again, you got some wide receiver decisions to make. And this is a team that's going to have to drop someone. I would suggest dropping Dak Prescott, picking up a wide receiver to complete your team for this week. But you got a lot of people on the bye. So that might benefit me. I don't mind. But, and then unluckiest. My unluckiest person is Mr. Jeff himself. Jeff, you've got a solid team, actually. Decent. I'd say solid. And you're in between decent and solid. You definitely need a different quarterback. I don't think you can trust Matt Stafford being a consistent, because you want 20 points. You want 20-point potential week in and week out. I don't think Matt Stafford is that person. And so that's why I sent you a trade today. So we'll see if you accept that or not. But you've got Jordan Addison, who could be the wide receiver 1. There's talks about Justin Jefferson being shut down for the rest of the year, depending on the record when he's able to come back. So Jordan Addison might become a wide receiver 1 for the rest of the year. Mike Evans, I think if he can stay healthy, he's got big game potential. Bijan Robinson, I think he'll just get better and better over the years or over the weeks. And then Raheem Mostert, number 1, I think he's number 2 running back on the year. And then Darren Waller, I think he'll get more involved. I think you've got a decent team, but I definitely do think you need a quarterback change. And George Pickens, he's been producing decently. We'll see how he does when Deontay Johnson gets back. But I think you've just been really unlucky with some matchups. Let me see the overall points against. I think, yeah, you are unluckiest by far. You've got the most points against. So, and you've lost 4 in a row. That's tough. But I would say you are so far the unluckiest. So that wraps that up. I'm going to try to wrap this up a little bit quick. I'm going to go through power rankings pretty quick. Again, these are my power rankings. Please don't read too much into them. It's just my opinion. I'm kind of doing it this week. I'm doing it based off just looking at a team, not looking at because I do ultimately think it's part of it. Usually I put in the thought manager. I guess I did a little bit this time. When I do my power rankings, I'm looking at the team, the potential. Are things kind of falling into place for them? Like if you have, let's say, Jonathan Taylor, things are not falling in place as well as you had hoped initially. And so I think that's a little bit scary for him. That definitely leaves a lot of uncertainty with him and his workload moving forward. I also look at the manager's decision making. So in my opinion, I think Luke has one of the best manager decision making. Somehow, whoever he picks, that person goes off, and he always finds a way for them to produce 10 points. I don't know how he does it. I'm actually a little envious of it, but so I give that a lot of thought when I try to put in these power rankings. But without further ado, I've got a new number 10. Number 10. My number 10 is my opponent this last week. It's poor Eddie. Eddie, I've got you at 10. I think you've got some holes in your roster, and you've been hit by the injury bug. So that's why I'm going to put you at 10. Let me get your team pulled up here. I can't keep track of all the damn names. Keep look, buddy. Um, yeah, Brock Purdy. Interesting to watch him without Debo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey. I think Cleveland Browns defense is the best in the league, but um, also that was a pretty bad game by Brock Purdy. And also, they have such a big running game. I don't know about his upside. I think you've got a lot of pieces that have underperformed, and you're really relying a lot on Tyreek Hill. He's been your most consistent and your best player by far. But beyond that, there's been a lot of inconsistency. I think your next consistent person is Jacoby Myers, and he's good, but I don't know. When that's your second most consistent player, in my opinion, I feel like there's a lot that needs to go right for your team to turn it around. And Mark Andrews has not been as good as I think we were all kind of hoping. I thought he was going to be a complete breakout, but he hasn't really had that big of a game. He had a he had a 2 touchdown. Okay, I'll eat some crow there. He had 1 20-point game, but other than that, he only has one other game over 10 points. So that's been a little bit underwhelming, I guess. And that game that he got 20 points was against Cleveland Brown when they had that god awful quarterback back there, kept turning it over. So Baltimore, that defense was out there majority of the game. I think that was just a perfect script for him. So besides that, your neck Mark Andrews has not really been performing in the rest of your team. And with Puka Nakua, he's been good, but he's a huge PPR guy. I don't think in a standard league he's as good as he is in PPR or half PPR. And he doesn't carry that same weight of value. So that's why I've got you at number 10. Number 9, I've got Whitney. Whitney, I kind of went over your team a little bit, so I won't harp on it too much, but I think you just have some underperforming assets that, again, a lot needs to go right. CeeDee Lamb has been pretty underperforming for the amount of capital that you spent on him. Travis Kelce has not been that difference maker that you were hoping, and your quarterbacks have been underwhelming. But I won't harp too much on that. Like I said, I kind of already went over that. Again, I also went over my next person, number 8. We've got Jeff. I do think you have a better team than what your record says, and you've been unlucky. But at the same time, there's a lot of stuff that needs to happen. Not having a good, consistent quarterback really hurts because that's a difference between 8 points, which I think 8 points, about 8 points, 5 to 8 points, we'll say, a game. And that can be huge, a huge difference. So, like I said, we already went over your team a little bit. I won't harp on it too much. Next up, I've got me. And I'm sure you guys don't want to hear about I like talking about my team, but not everyone likes to hear about other people's teams. But I think my team's coming together. Having Cooper Kupp is huge. Having him back is huge. Joe Burrow started off really hot, and then they kind of sizzled out. But I think with some positive matchups, which I believe they have some positive matchups coming up. And I also have CJ Stroud, who's looked like a complete dog. So I've got good options at quarterback. I've got, in my opinion, 2 top 5 wide receivers in the league. Swift, he's going to be a solid RB1. And Stevenson, if they can kind of figure some stuff out, I think he'll be really good. And I think I've got some things that if they fall in the right place, my team can be really good. So, and then Goddard, he's been getting more involved, so I've been happy about that. And Olave, I think if he gets if he gets some touchdowns here and there, he could be a solid wide receiver, high-end wide receiver too. But I think I have some stuff that needs to fall into place first before I can put myself higher than some other people. Even though, in my opinion, I feel like I have a little bit better team than most people. But I'm going to put myself there. I'm trying to be fair. Next up, number 6, I've got Nate. Nate. You've been hit by the injury bug. Amon-Ra St. Brown did get a touchdown, and that was nice. Devontae Smith, he had a few drops, so he's not looked as good as the first couple weeks. So that's been concerning. Kansas City, their offense does not look right. So Patrick Mahomes, he's not that QB1 that I think absolute number 1 that you were hoping. So that's been kind of interesting. Christian McCaffrey, with him getting injured, I had to drop you. I hope for his sake that he's feeling better, but that would be a huge blow. That would be devastating. That would be league ending for your. He is average. His projection points is 18 points. It's almost like having another quarterback on your team, and if you're missing that, that just brings your team way down. So with that injury in mind, I'm going to put you at 6. And speaking of injuries, I've got Luke at number 5. Josh, like I said, Josh Allen is hurt. Calvin Ridley not been as consistent. Drake London, Ritter is his quarterback. He's been hot and he's been a lot better, but Ritter is his quarterback. I'm going to leave it at that. And then you've got just a few backup running backs. Alexander Madison, underwhelming. You've got Pollard, who's good. Keenan Allen, who's been an absolute dog. And Laporta, who's been one of the more consistent tight ends. But he's also battling some of an injury. I don't know if that still is the case, but definitely some things. You've been hit by the injury bug. And although I do really agree with your decision-making, missing Josh Allen, that's going to be tough. If he's missing some time. I honestly hope he misses this next week, gets right, gets healthy, and that way he can just be healthy for the following week. If not, that's going to be tough. I don't trust his in-game thinking to protect himself. So for your sake, for his sake, I hope he misses this next week. Moving on, number 4. And this might be a surprise to some, but Dre, I did go over your team. I think you have a very good team. If they can, I think that's all you need to hope for is if they can remain healthy. I mean, if you look at this team, Jared Goff, number 5 quarterback. You got Jalen Waddle, A.J. Brown, and Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen, you can dog on him. I didn't think he was going to be good, but this guy's a top 5 wide receiver in our scoring this year. So you've got Adam Thielen, a top 5, A.J. Brown, a top 5, and Jalen Waddle, who's on a high-power offense. You get A-Chain back, Saquon Barkley, Aaron Jones, and Evan Ingram to top it off with a decent tight end. This has the makings of being a pretty damn scary team, honestly. And you know what? I kind of shit on your team a little bit. I do question your decision-making with starting McKinnon. I don't agree with that at all. But besides that, I think you've had actually pretty good. You've got Tank Dell. You've got good depth. Zay Flowers, who finally got his first touchdown. You've got depth. You've got dogs. You've got players. I'm actually thinking that I've got you ranked too low. Based off your team, I think you're top 2 in this league in terms of talent on a team. But we'll see if they can keep it up. I think you won. You won this last week. I don't know if you won the week before, but that'll be interesting. This matchup will be interesting. We'll go over matchups next podcast. I know I didn't do 2 podcasts last week. I got a little bit busy with some stuff, but damn, I think I've got you too low, honestly. Number 3, I've got Mr. Sloppy Poppy himself. I think we've got a really good team. You're going to struggle this week with no running back unless you can pick up a running back. But Kyron Williams is top 5. David Montgomery, if he can be healthy, he's a top 5. He's a touchdown machine. And then you've got top 3 quarterback. Stephon Diggs is always feasting. DK Metcalf, he's a crybaby, but he's still really good. And TJ Hawkinson, I think, is going to get a little bit more volume moving forward with no Jay Jetta. I think we've got a really good team. And I hate to say that, but I've got you at number 3. And the person that has the biggest jump, I would say, is Austin. You know what? I don't know if you guys saw, but I did do an apology video to Austin. Austin, you've got a good team. Hottest team in the league, I believe. Josh Jacobs, who always is getting that volume. Alvin Kamara, who's been getting the volume. Etienne, who's been the offense for Jacksonville. And once you get Jay Jetta back, if you had Jay Jetta right now and Christian Kirk, Lamar Jackson, and even your tight ends, I don't know about George Kittle, but Pitts has been stepping it up. I think you've got one of the better teams. And like I said, with your team being so hot in terms of like no gay thing, no homo kind of thing. But in terms of the 4 straight, I've got you at 2. And although you've been struggling lately, I'm going to keep Mr. Organic at number 1. I think he just has the best team. I think, where did you go? Mr. Organic. You've got a top QB. You've got Ayuk, who's been absolute killing it. Had a few drops, but Devontae Adams, Austin Eckler, Ken Walker, Amari Cooper, Joe Mixon. He's been underperforming, but he still is a volume guy. I think you still have the best team. Now we'll see. If you lose again, I don't know. I'll probably have to adjust my ratings, but I've got you at number 1. I think you just have the best team, and you've got good depth too. So not much more to it, but those are my power rankings. I hope you guys enjoyed. I definitely want to get someone on the podcast. Talking to Austin. Hopefully he can appear. I'll do something tomorrow night. And I hope you guys enjoyed this. Whoever, I want more people. I want people to attend I do this alone, and I would honestly probably be really bad with someone else because I would have to learn how to vibe with someone else and kind of know when to give them the stage, know when to take the stage. So it'll definitely be a learning curve, but I think it'll be fun. Ultimately, that's what this is for. I only share this with you guys. I want this to be fun for everybody. So definitely reach out to me. We'll book a time. We'll figure out something, and I'll take care of everything. I can even do some editing if I need to. I'm not very good at it, but I can do some editing. But join my podcast. Let's have some fun. Good luck to everybody. I'll post another video, and also keep that person prepared. Like, I'm not just going to blindly have you join. I'll give you like some ideas of what we're going to talk about. I'll give you some questions that I want to ask you, and then we can kind of go over it with you from there. But yeah, let me know. Hope you guys enjoyed. Peace out, y'all.